Our opening map is going to be Royal Blood. In the bottom left side of Royal Blood, we are looking at the main base of our Korean Protoss, now representing Twisted Minds. This is Classic.
And his opponent, all the way in the top right-hand corner, representing Dragon Kaizi Gaming. He is Dark. I wonder what sort of Dark we're going to see here today. I feel like in the GSL Codes, for example, he was playing very clean, not really too crazy, but then if you look at him play in the online cups, he's just doing crazy build orders and crazy strategies. So I think he's probably going to be playing a little bit more quote-unquote normal in this particular series, but we'll find out.
I'm never too worried about what Dark does in online tournaments, because to me he's kind of been like Rogue in the past. He's just a big game player. He steps up when the prize money is the biggest, when it matters the most. And obviously if he's traveling from Korea to play in a tournament in Sweden, I think we're going to see a very good Dark. I'm not too concerned about it. I do, in a weird way, kind of hope that Dark wins here, and I'll explain it to you. Because even though the Protoss, they seem to struggle in some of these events, and we obviously want to see Protoss players go far, but Serral already won his opening match here in Group B. So the winner of this best of 3 will play a best of 3 against Serral to determine who is going to advance into the playoffs immediately. And I always feel that Dark, Serral, offline event, like those are just bangers of best of 3s, man. That always delivers, so I really think that's something to look forward to later on today even.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Alrighty, so standard build orders here so far. Classic, 9 times out of 10 seems to favor the Stargate opener right now, and for good reason. It's of course a very well-rounded build that allows you to take a quick third base, put a lot of pressure on the opponent. We should be seeing what sort of tech structure is going to be attached to that pylon inside of the main base here momentarily. Dark will be adding on Queens. He's going to be going for the 3rd hatchery in his natural expansion here momentarily as well. And everything so far is looking A-okay. Now, the Zerglings are fired up. Dark can make anywhere between 4 and 4D, I would say. Most of the time, we shouldn't see that many, but you never know.
I definitely do not recommend him to make 40 now, with that Stargate being built at home. I was hoping to see at least 1 Twilight built in his best of 3, and maybe we'll still see that in the 2nd or the 3rd game, but Classic is going to go normal at first, and now the only question is, are we going to get 2 Oracles, 3 Oracles, even 4 Oracles? Sometimes they never stop. I'm personally expecting Classic to go triple Oracle and then followed up with the Twilight Council, go Blink, maybe take it from there. But I hope that he surprises us.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Triple Oracle, very normal together with Adepts. Usually the first Oracle is used for, well, leveraging your way into a 3rd base. Now this is something Dark does very regularly. He's going to find out exactly what the opponent is doing, maybe harass the probes for just a little bit, but this is a bit annoying, right, for Protoss. Getting links in your base, super frustrating.
Yeah, that's because all the Protoss build orders are very tight, and you really count it down to the mineral, and if 6 or 7 probes are chasing Zerglings, then your build order will just not flow all that well anymore. Good defense there by Dark, doesn't end up losing a drone. In the end, those links did get taken care of, but yeah, I think I'd be already a little bit frustrated if I'm Classic, because like, that's just annoying, I don't want to deal with it. And spotting that amount of links, by the way, after you already took out 2 links in your side of the map, that would make me a little bit concerned. We know it's nothing crazy. We can see that Dark is just building nothing but drones behind all of this. But I wouldn't be surprised if Classic is indeed keeping these units at home a little while longer than he normally would, because he saw the amount of links and there is a good chance that he didn't even get to see all of them. So I think this makes a lot of sense to keep these units at home to make sure that he can safely go up to 3 bases.
Yeah, you're always a little bit concerned for a Zergling flood at this point in the game. 2nd Oracle, however, is now also just about to join the battlefield, and that's the cue for the 1st Oracle to start heading across the map. There's that quick evolution chamber as well coming up for Dark. I'm assuming this will be for +1 melee, something he's been enjoying a lot as of late.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the case as well, because this kind of smells like we're going to go into Blink Stalkers, and a lot of the Zergs, they prefer having links with +1 melee versus Stalker builds. Obviously, if they go against anything weird Zealot related first, then they prefer to have Roaches, because they are a bit more reliable. And this Queen was a bit far out of position, so that first Queen goes down, and the 2nd Queen is going to take a lot of damage. In the end, Classic decides to go for a couple of drones, but what a start, man. A Queen and 3 drones, any Protoss will take that.
Yeah, that Queen is a big pick-off right there for Classic. He's going to be sending these Adepts in right now as well. Mostly just a distraction. I mean, he's already bruised another Queen as well, about half of her health. There's certainly a chance that he's going to be jumping back in here in just a moment. And there's, by the way, that Twilight Council force transition you were talking about.
Kind of feels like this would be a sick moment to go for Zealots and Charge, because I think that would actually turn out really well for Classic. Even though Australia early today wasn't very fortunate with those build orders going up against one another, but that's mostly because the War Prison went down. As one more Queen is low on HP, will fall. In return, one of the Oracles does take a lot of damage, but as long as you keep it alive, that's obviously the most important thing. As Oracle number 3 is going to try to drop a Stasis, and Dark is not paying attention, and that is a Stasis about as big as you're going to see them today. This is all going very well for Classic.
Yeah, the only thing I didn't like there is that he was a bit late on his upgrades. So he started them up, he does decide to go for Charge. You were talking about it. I'm assuming we're going to see a Templar Archives on the back of this too. That's really the only thing that makes sense, because otherwise, what are we going to spend all of that gas on? Bailing Nest, however, is coming up right now for Dark.
This is a bit unfortunate for Classic that he's taking this fight as he's trying to drop another Stasis. That's nice and all, but you don't want to lose Zealots, especially not now, because now he was forced to warp in way more units. And at that point, he's giving away the fact that he's actually going for Zealots with +1 and Charge, much rather than, you know, maybe keeping the man still guessing.
Alrighty, the Oracle coming in once again, trying to get some damage done. Dark has decided to march all of the Queens across the map. He's going for a +1 attack with melee and a whole lot of Banelings. This is hitting right before the Charge upgrade, and the +1 melee for the Protoss are done.
Dark is so all in. He's on 46 drones, so he really needs to do a crazy amount of damage. Doesn't actually get the battery at first. Will be able to empower it in the end. The Zealots are going to try to do their thing, but +1 is still not quite done yet. And Zealots without +1, they definitely struggle a whole lot more with links than if they would have +1. But it just feels to me that, I don't know, I don't think this is quite enough for Dark initially. He's going to need a few more links, a few more Banelings to show up. Getting the base would be awesome, but if he gets only the base and he doesn't get any of the workers, I still don't know if it's good enough, but if the floodgates are open here, that would have been a great moment, I think, for Dark to at least cause some more chaos in the main base and in the natural too.
What a crazy fight here once again for Dark, though, because that entire fight essentially took place before his own upgrades finished up as well. I think he's just going to double down. He's going for a few more drones right now. He did put down a Roach Warren, but mostly because he's got a lot of money. He's morphing in additional paints. There is a 4th base down as well, but here's the floodgates you were talking about, man. They're open, and the Natural's being overrun.
Poor Classic, he really did not expect a second wave of Ling Bane aggression. That's why he sent the Oracles to the other side of the map. He thought Dark would go home, that Dark was happy with the amount of damage he dealt. This is one of these things where in the mind of a Protoss, none of this should work. But because Classic wasn't expecting it, it now definitely did a bit more damage than it was supposed to. There is one saving grace though for Classic, and that's that hidden base loco. Well, it's not a hidden base, it was a normal 4th base. It's just that Dark never expected Classic to already have that. That Nexus should have been a goner. It's not. And it's honestly what's kind of giving Classic a tiny lifeline in this game. But it's just a matter of time before Dark is going to find it.
He needs to spend his gas somehow, right? So he's going into a Templar Archives right now. Archons would be absolutely amazing in this position. Is that powering the gateway? It is not, and the gateway is going to get picked off anyways. At this point, though, the links are just going to continuously trade. Obviously, Dark has got a superior economy, so he doesn't really care. He's just trying to prevent himself from losing the game to an all-in. Recall on the Oracles as well. Looks like one of them was actually flying back home. His only saving grace is that base on the left side. The 9 o'clock expansion has not been found.
No, but it's obviously wide open. We have no pylons here, we have no cannons here. We're gonna get a couple of Archons, and obviously Archon Zealot would have had crazy potential against just the Lings or Ling Bane even. But yeah, now there are so many Roaches already on the battlefield. Classic probably thought that initially Dark attacking him was great, because in a weird way he was gearing up for an attack too. Since he got overrun, he lost power to that battery. The overcharge did its job for a little while, but ideally Classic would have been able to keep it alive a bit longer. Still having that base is what's giving him a tiny bit of hope, but Dark is obviously A, going to find it, and B, is already making the correct units right now, because the Roaches are going to be amazing against Zealots and Archons.
Yeah, exactly. 6 additional Overlords coming up. This is the moment where Dark finds that base. He's like, what are you trying to do right now? You're not going for a 2-base lane, you don't have a new 3rd? This doesn't really add up, so he does find the base. I think Dark is just going to make a whole lot of Roaches and just go for it again.
Yeah. So unfortunate that after the initial wave was obviously already very successful for Dark, but Classic is like, okay, this is bad, but maybe I can still find some damage with Oracles on the other side of the map. And that's when the second wave of the initial aggression shows up, and he starts taking damage in his natural and main base too. He just expected Dark to go home, made a bit of a judgment call there, figured that, okay, I need to do at least something to get back into this game, and then he ended up even taking more damage on the back foot of all of that. Unfortunate, painful.
Yeah, this is exactly, though, what Dark is very well known for. He can essentially just pull out whatever at any point in time. Now the Oracles are actually going to be caught here in the middle of the map. One's going to go down. Second one will also fall. I mean, there really isn't a way, though, to stop this swarm. Look at the supply counts right now. They're just heavily in favor of the Zerg player. Those Archons are nice, but Roaches, I mean, they're certainly a formidable unit here.
Normally you want to kite a little bit with the Roaches, but I think when you have these overwhelming numbers, it doesn't matter. Dark is just going to do the Terran thing, and he's moving them forward. He's like, I may not have Marines and Marauders, but I can do the Terran thing as well with a whole bunch of Roaches. GG gets called. Dark wins game 1 after an obviously very committed Queen Ling Bane attack. But it was good enough, Loco. It got the job done, and if we were not totally sure it was good enough, he got like 14 extra probes when he decided to bust open the natural of Classic as well.
Yeah, I wonder if Classic should have gone for the Templar Archives before the 4th Nexus, right? The Templar Archives was a little bit late. He was sitting at like 800-900 gas for a lot of that fight, if I'm not mistaken, and just a few Archons would have been amazing against this particular attack right here. He also was a bit late on the charge upgrade as well as the +1 forge upgrade, so all of those things combined really made this attack successful right here for Dark. And obviously props for Dark for, you know, bringing this out in the series. This is not something we very commonly see at this level of play, but Dark's, yeah, he consistently pulls it off.
Yeah, but you look at that initial attack and you're also like, man, what if Classic has a backup pylon to power that shield battery? Because then, obviously, just killing that exposed pylon is not good enough. Dark was forced to use even more banelings for that battery, or if Classic was able to pick up on it just a little bit quicker, you can get a second battery. You can get a battery in the natural as well, because initially, even after losing the Nexus, he still had like a 10 or so worker lead. It's just that the second wave ended up killing even more probes. It was, honestly, that's a Dark game in a nutshell, where a lot of the top-tier European Zergs would look at them and be like, yeah, that doesn't make any sense, that doesn't work. And Dark is like, well, it does work if you're Dark. And, you know, in theory, it shouldn't really work on this level, but the execution is always just so damn good and on point that Dark is able to get away with things that may not be game theory optimal, but he makes it work.
You don't expect a Queen March when you lose 2 Queens to Oracles.
No.
It's just one of those things that makes no sense strategically, but that's also exactly the reason why it worked, because, well, the man right here in the top right-hand corner of Ancient Cistern was not expecting it. And he goes by the name of Classic.
And a good run at Katowice, even if in the end he didn't go all the way. In the bottom left side, we're looking at the main base of the man who's a previous world champion of StarCraft 2. Representing Dragon Kaisi Gaming, 1-0 up. This is Dark. And I'm sure that even a veteran like Dark gets a little excited at the prospect of winning this best of 3 and then playing against Serral. Best of 3. Playoff spot on the line immediately. Like, I'm sure that those are the series that even Dark's heart starts beating a little bit faster.
Yeah, and I think as far as players go that Serral is scared for, I mean, he's probably, if you're going to ask him, he's not really scared of anybody. But the players he's concerned for, I think Dark makes the list. Dark can, just like he does in ZVP, he can bring out anything in Zerg versus Zerg as well, and he's a bit of a wild card. And
we can't deny that Korean ZVZ has just looked good over the last few tournaments we've had. Well, there was definitely an era where almost everyone thought that the European ZVZ was a bit better, was more solid, made more sense across the board. The Korean Zergs have just gotten excellent results against the top European Zergs over the last, I think we can safely say 12 months at this point, so that is just a super interesting series. But we're not there yet, and obviously we cannot count Classic out, because the man is capable of a lot of things, and I do hope we get to see something a little bit different in Game 2. I didn't hate the idea of Zealots and +1 quickly after the Oracles, but what I then don't like is that I feel like he didn't really chrono boost it at all, because that +1, it took centuries, Loco.
Yeah. No, for sure. And he was sitting on so much gas as well. I think it was all a little disconnected. Most of it probably went wrong when he saw the Queens in the middle of the map. He's like, wait a second, this is not supposed to happen. Crisis management not as clean as it should have been right there for Classic. Either way, he's going to get another shot. I'm assuming this will once again be a Stargate opener. Seems to favor it, well, pretty much every single time. We'll have to see. He's got 150 gas. There it is.
And, well, there was a small period recently where a lot of Protoss players were like, oh, you can actually still go like one Void Ray and then an Oracle. And then we're like, really? And they're like, yeah. And then it just falls out of fashion immediately because, actually, that Void Ray is kind of expensive. There are still a couple of Protoss players that like it. And they say, as long as you kill 2 Oracles and then you get some additional value out of it, maybe sniping a creep tumor or 2.
An Overlord.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did I say?
Oracles.
Okay, I definitely meant
sniping your own Oracle.
No, that would not be a good play. That
Yeah.
happens on the ladder, Loco, but definitely do not snipe your own Oracles with a Void Ray. Now you get 2 Overlords and a couple of Creep Tumors, and you can sort of justify the investment on a Void Ray, but most Protoss players just prefer going Oracle straight up, and this is already a slightly better start. Can he get a second drone? Yes, he does. And if this Adept is actually able to get out of there, I feel like if it would have kept running there, Loco, I do think he's able to keep it alive. Because that's normally a great start, though. 1 Adept for 2 drones.
Yeah, still definitely not bad. Sometimes taking the third can now be a little bit trickier, but I don't think Classic is really going to struggle all too much. As long as he keeps that first Oracle at home, it's not going to be a Void Ray this time around. I think the Void Ray does indeed depend on whether or not you see the second Overlord going across, right? Kind of depends, right? If you don't go for the Oracle, or sorry, if you don't go for the second Overlord scout, then suddenly the Void Ray is not that great, but yeah, if Zergs get a little bit greedy and they're like, yo, everybody's always opening up Oracle, I can go for 2 Overlords across the map, and suddenly the Void Ray is once again a little bit better.
Well, Classic is going to go for the exact same setup as he did in the previous game, where it's just Oracles, couple of Adepts, and we're going to drop the third Nexus 3 minutes and 45 seconds into the game. Dark has a pretty quick lair for this matchup, right? All things considered. Wonder where he's going to take that. With Dark, you never know. I wouldn't even be surprised to see Queen Ling Nidus. Like, it's always one thing that I think of, and I see Dark in a quick lair. Could just go straight into Hydras as well if he wants to do that, but yeah, we'll keep an eye on it.
I saw him do that very recently against Hero. It's definitely something that Dark has been playing over the last couple of weeks. That being said, though, this is not good right here. He does decide to run the links back. I almost feel like that is like...
Because he wants to keep them alive for something
exactly.
bigger
That's
and
because
better.
he wants to keep them alive to go back in for a little bit more. I don't know exactly where the Overlords are located. Is that an Overlord right above this location that we're currently looking at on the left side of the screen? Yes,
there is
I
one
think
more.
it's going to be, it's going to be a Nidus. There it is.
Yep, Dark and his quick lairs, he loves it. He's the no-nonsense Zerg. Sometimes I do feel like he has taken a look at some of these older games of Rogue, and he's like, why am I always macroing? Why do I make life so hard on myself? Well, first he needs to make sure that he doesn't lose too much against these Oracles. Killing an Oracle, though, with the Queens, while you're about to attack your opponent with a bunch of Queens and Lings, is absolutely fantastic. It just kind of feels that Dark has no idea that this is happening, and he's in all sorts of trouble.
Yeah, where exactly is that first worm going to go down? Good
Top left
shielding
side
right there as well, yeah.
Top
Wonder
left
if
side
it's going
of
to
the
go
main.
straight into the main? Oh my god, he gets it in once. That is not good. Okay, it's a very conservative placement. I think the second one will then go into the main base. But I mean, having Queens right out front of your natural, there's no shield battery or anything. It's going to be a disaster.
Classic is still completely unaware that this is happening, guys. In the first game, the lack of scouting was a problem. In the second one, it's probably going to be a bit of an issue as well. Nidus #2 is going up in the top left side of the main base right now. We thought that would be the first one, or at least I thought that was going to be the first one. And that's obviously a problem. Probes and Stalkers might actually be able to deny that Nidus. Yeah, that's... Oh, can Queens keep it alive? No, that's actually a bit ambitious by Dark. Now, Dark is already finding a lot of success with it, but he does need to make up his mind on how he actually wants to deliver the final blow. Get the Rondo on the Stalkers and on the Adepts.
Yeah, now he's trying to recall and desperately get those units on out of there, but that's not going to happen for the majority of them. Third Nexus at the very least is going to go down, and this time around there's no fourth base or anything hidden across the map, but I don't think it even really matters. Dark is inside of the main base. There's so much Queen energy available too. He can transfuse this for days as long as he is on the creep, but I don't see a way for Classic to macro his way out of this.
We can get pretty ready for an epic ZVZ later today between Dark and Serral, because that's next up for Dark. This one is in the bag. There is very little that Classic can do at this point. A couple of slow Zealots and a Sentry and an Adept. They will never make the difference. We're even bringing the drones as well for good measures. Couple of Spine Crawlers. Classic will drop down to the lower bracket. Dark moves into the qualification match to duke it out with Serral. And that is going to be an absolute banger, Loco.
Classic Dark series right